Welcome to the Marketing Strategies Podcast. I'm your host, Matt Byram, and today my guest is Marie Martens, the founder of Tally, which is a simple but powerful form builder. Tally's growth has soared over the last couple of years, and recently they've just passed $100,000 in MRR with a bootstrap team of just 3. I'm excited to dive into the marketing strategies that have helped them get to this all-important milestone. So, thanks for joining me today, Marie.
Hi Matt, thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome. It's great to have you here. Let's start this off. Please could you tell the listeners a little bit about Tally?
Yeah, of course. My name is Marie. I'm based in Ghent, Belgium, in Europe, and I founded Tally in 2020 together with my co-founder and partner in life, Philip. And Tally is, as you described it beautifully, the simplest way to create forms for free. So it's basically a form building tool that has a pretty intuitive interface. You can just start typing and insert blocks with keyboards. The special thing about Tally as well is that we offer unlimited forms and submissions for free, which is something that kind of differentiates us from most players on the market.
That's fantastic, and I mentioned to you we started using Tally a few months ago. Love the tool, the simplicity of it. It's obviously great to have a tool, a form builder where you don't have a submissions limit. It's not something that you see very often. Certainly sets you apart. And where did you first sort of get the idea for Tally? Where did it come from, and why did you decide to build Tally?
Yeah, so basically, Tally is not the first startup idea that we had together. We first wanted to build something completely different. It was called Hotspot. It's a marketplace for influencers and hotels. I'm not going to go too deep into that because it failed pretty quick because of COVID. And then we had to brainstorm about new ideas. And one thing that we came up with is that we had both used form builders in our previous jobs and startups, but never really found the tool that we loved using because, forms can be pretty boring. And on one hand, you have Google Forms, it's free, it does the job, but it's not really customizable. And then you have players like a Typeform, but they kind of force you into this format of one question per page. It looks great, but it can also get really expensive because they have this volume-based pricing where, you collect 10 or 100 responses and then you have to pay more. And that's an experience that we didn't really love as form creators ourselves in the past. And at the same time, we also started using Notion, and we really loved how they managed to build this product that was, powered by this immense, passionate user base and community of them, and how they kind of managed into making note-taking for fun again, So we thought, how can we do the same with forms? How can we make forms fun, simple to use, and also largely free. That's how we came up with the idea. And it's a pretty competitive market. Forms have been around since the beginning of the internet. But we thought, the demand is so big. Every company needs a form at some point.
Yeah.
We're a small bootstrap team, so if we, can grab a small part of that market, that would already make us really successful. And that's kind of how we got started.
Yeah, that's great. I guess so. You would say the simplicity and of the style of Notion, with the features of a form builder, but kind of removing some of the limits you would see in other tools.
Yeah, indeed. And when we just launched, we even had people describe it's like Typeform and Notion made a baby, And I guess that kind of was a big compliment for us. But that's really what it is. People use us. Of course, there's the free part, which attracts users. But then there's also the UX and the simplicity of the form builder, which is definitely one of our USPs as well.
And when would you say was the first inflection point where you started getting some traction and you started to think, okay, this has got some mileage. This is something that's really going to is something that's starting to be interesting and something that might take off.
Yeah, I think it was our first product hunt launch. We built our MVP in a couple of months, and then basically did some cold outreach to find our first users. We did that mainly on Product Hunt as well. We were like looking for people that had upvoted similar products like ours, like it could be form builders, but also no-code tools. And then we would look for them or their contact details on Twitter or LinkedIn and shoot them a DM and asking them for feedback. So that we kind of did that for like 6 months. We also had our first baby in the meantime, so it took us a bit longer to launch publicly. But then after 6 months, we launched our form builder, which was still pretty basic, but we felt like it had, the basic features that we needed to launch publicly. We launched it on Product Hunt, and that was really like, I think, our first like growth push that we needed. We had around 1,500 users when we launched, and then we doubled that in one day, and we got a lot of positive feedback. So a lot of people upvoted it, started following us, sent us product feedback, but also shared really positive sentiment about the product. So for us, that was really like a day where we realized like, okay, we must be building something that is solving a problem or that people will want to use. And I think, that was like the first moment where, things got real for Tally. And afterwards, we started growing a lot faster.
So as well as a bunch of free users and a bunch of feedback, did you end up getting actually like your first paid customers from the Product Hunt launch as well?
Yeah, so we didn't have a paid plan in the first months, and then and that's actually a funny story. Someone reached out and they were like, "Wow, I really love the tool. I'd love to pay for it, but we didn't have a way to pay." So then we set up Stripe and we made like this custom plan for this person. I don't know, like a symbolic €9 or $1 or something. And we were like, oh, this is so special. This is our first customer. But we didn't really have pro features yet. So he's still on that plan, actually. So that was also kind of a validation for us. Like, oh, wow, someone wants to pay because we're, building a good product. But we didn't actually have that paid tier. And I think that happened after a couple of months. And for the launch, I think we had like a couple, a dozen or something paying customers, and especially afterwards, that also started growing. The revenue also started growing exponentially together with the user base. So it definitely had an effect on getting free users, but we might talk about that a bit later. But the free users, around 3% converts to that's something we know now. We didn't know that at the time, but converts to Tally Pro users in the end.
Yeah. It's obviously a fantastic position to be in when you don't have a paid plan, but people are saying, "Quick, create a plan. I need to pay for this."
Yeah. I think this person just saw the opportunity of like getting on a lifetime plan or something, which was a good move.
And we'll dive into it right now, but your main marketing channel, so your number one marketing channel that you say that you have is powered by marketing. Do you want to explain a little bit more about what that is and how that works for you?
Yeah, definitely. So it's mainly product-led growth. Yeah. So if you discover Tally, the chance is big that you have either heard about us, on social media, or you filled out a Tally form. And our free users, because we offer basically everything you need to create, share, customize a form for free. The only thing we ask in return is that the form carries a powered by Tally badge. So that kind of makes our free users into our biggest promoters, because they create a form to share with more people. Forms are viral by nature. They are made to share, and more people get to see our brand. So everyone who is a respondent or submits the form also sees the powered by badge. And things like, oh, this is a good-looking form. I'll click it, and maybe I wanna create one myself. So it's a bit of a loop the there's as little friction or barriers as possible, so you don't need to sign up to try it out, and it's free, so it's really easy to try it out. This kind of creates a lot of positive word of mouth, especially on Twitter, Reddit, the channels where we're most active, and where people also share the tools that they are using. And that kind of leads to more people trying it out. More free users means more forums with our brand on it, and eventually, turns into more Tally users. So that's kind of the growth flywheel of our product-led growth. So yeah, the product itself is our main acquisition channel for now. And all the growth until now has been organic, mainly because of this.
Yeah, that's fantastic. If you've got a viral tool like a form builder that's being put in front of many different users, having your branding on there and then having the ability for people to click that button, test out the tool for free, and then carry on. It's obviously, like you say, a low friction way to get started. What numbers are you seeing around the powered by buttons? What number of people actually, what percentage of people see a form, click on the button, then try out Tally?
I don't know the exact percentage now. I think still the number one. So there's powered by. There's also search. That works pretty well for us. That's also kind of linked to the word of mouth turning into branded search. I don't know the exact percentage of people that actually have clicked and then signed up, because we also lose some within that the part that happens in between. Sometimes you see it and then you only use the form later on, so we don't have the correct attribution. But it would definitely be, I think, 30-40% of our users that find Tally and immediately create a form after they have filled out another form, or maybe do it later on. So it's a pretty high percentage, yeah.
It's 30-40% of people who find out about Tally do it through the powered by button.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
And do you see different metrics regarding, upgrade rate for people who find Tally using the powered by button versus other channels?
I wouldn't say there's a direct trend in that. I think people that find us through the powered by users, but that's not backed by actual data, but my gut feeling would say that might actually also be free users, or people that use it in the beginning for free. Businesses that use us most likely discover Tally and just start paying right away because they just want to remove our branding. And that, also really happens through word of mouth or search. So I wouldn't say that the paying users are directly linked to the powered by. But again, that's actually a good question. I should dive into the stats of that a bit deeper.
Yeah, very interesting. And I guess as Tally grows and you're seeing more forms out there, do you then see the number of people that actually click on the powered by button increase over time? And how do you see that going into the future? Do you just see that being an ever increasing marketing channel as more people are using more forms? The powered by button is getting more impressions and people are clicking on that. Yeah. Is there more optimizations, or is this just an ever growing marketing channel for you?
I think this will definitely. I mean, this is definitely the best ingredient of our growth recipe. So it will definitely stay like that as well. The more people that use it, the more people that will see forms, and the more users we will attract. Just to feed that, we also always make sure that we add more features into the free plan. So we just keep on adding more value, because that's kind of how we get our new users, by making the free form builder better as well. So I definitely see it as a never-ending growth loop on our side. Of course, since this year, we are considering also different marketing tactics, because we don't just want to rely on the product-led growth. We haven't done any paid acquisition, which is something that we do want to start experimenting with, like more specifically thinking about influencer marketing and maybe paid search ads, but the competition there is quite high with other form builders, so we're not sure about that just yet. But yeah, for us, you know, we like to keep things simple. We're very small, and keeping things simple has always worked for us. And I think the same, applies to our marketing tactics. This is, you know, the product sells itself, and the better the product gets, the more users we tend to find. So we're definitely not seeing that change in the near future. Yeah, it's a pretty scalable approach for such a small team, right? So we don't need to have the big marketing budgets that the competitors have to be able to grow Tally, and I think that's a nice thing about, you know, the virality that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, powered by marketing, where you have a powered by button, it doesn't work for all businesses. It's got to be a tool that is shared, you know, through a network effect effectively. Is there any, you know, as this is your number one marketing tactic, is there any final tips or, pointers that you could give other businesses that might be looking to do powered by marketing? Anything that you've learned particularly along the way that's really changed how well that works for you?
I think for us, doing this combined by, we're also building in public, you know, so we're sharing basically everything that we do. And I think by sharing our milestones, that also kind of creates some kind of content that is relevant for other startups, right, or other people that are on the same journey. And the fact that Tally is free and we are an open startup, that kind of matches with the whole story, and people can just, you know, try it out if they read about us. So that has definitely helped us as well. But I feel like specifically for the powered by tactic, we're always checking into how can we increase the visibility of our brand. For example, how can we make more branded maybe tools with Tally, right? Or more ways, mini products that people can build with Tally and get more eyes on the brand. And I guess the most important part for us has been the free tier. You can have a trial as well, but making it actually free makes it so much more powerful, I feel like, especially if you really want to go all in on the product-led growth. So that's something that for us, has really helped in getting traction and selling the product. It's making it free for the large part, not asking for a credit card, not asking for a sign up. It's there. You can immediately get started. It's mainly self-service as well, which helps because, you know, making it free also gives you a lot of free users, which turns into a lot of customer support as well. So then again, keeping it simple, keeping the product simple, also helps us with managing that. Yeah,
that's great. I'd love to move on to your second, most powerful marketing tactic, which is search. But you said, I was very interested in what you say here. I'll just preface this a little bit, because you say that search is your second, most powerful marketing tactic, but specifically branded search, which is using the power of word of mouth for then people to actually search for the name Tally, then find you through search, through branded search.
Yeah, that's something that we're starting to notice. It's because the word of mouth is so strong, mainly because of the free product and the virality of it. Is that people might have heard about Tally, at one point, seen it on Reddit, Twitter, indie hackers, any channel, heard it from colleagues, and then actually, go look for us at one point when they actually need the product. Besides that, we also, we have like SEO optimized pages, mostly competitor pages, where we, compare our pricing plan with a type form, for example. And those also rank pretty well, but they are all, you know, compared to the leads that we get from the product, they're all smaller channels. It all adds up and they help with our growth. But we're kind of still in the early stages there, and also this year looking into how can we optimize our organic search, and how can we perform better there, which is it's. You know, we've hacked a lot of things and tried a lot of things along the way. But, you know, as it has only been 2 people for most of the years, nothing has, you know, we haven't really dived into one tactic really deep, except for the product-led growth. So it's all kind of things that we plan to experiment with this year, and hoping to be able to share a bit more learnings about those, you know, by the end of this year. But yeah, definitely branded search is something we notice, and I kind of, you know, assume that this is because people have heard about us on a different channel. So yeah.
I mean, word of mouth is obviously the best way to grow. If people are saying positive things about your brand and then finding you through search engines, or, you know, maybe they find out about you on social media and then actually go to a search engine to find your website, obviously that's a very strong way for people to find you. And it must, you know, obviously be because of your strong product, free plan so people can get started. But also you mentioned, you know, customer support as well is something that you spend a lot of your time on to make sure that you're giving, you know, the best possible you know, service to all the people. And I'm just curious about how you actually manage your customer support with a free tool. You mentioned that you have 280,000 users, 4,000 paying customers. Do you give the same support and service to the free customers as the paying customers? And, you know, if so, that sounds like an awful lot of support that you have to manage. How does that work for Tally?
Yeah, so in the beginning we did. So we just, you know, everyone could just email us personally. We had a Slack channel where every new user could join and basically ask us questions. And that was great because we learned so much from that, especially in the first years. You know, these were our early users that basically became our biggest ambassadors as well. And we could just talk to them, you know, every day, or just, you know, ask feedback about any feature or the roadmap. So that's something I definitely would not have done differently. Only, you know, as the user base started growing, the volume just became too high, you know, of support tickets, and we had to kind of, you know, structure things a bit differently. So I think the most important part is that we always tend or try to keep the product simple, and as simpler it is, you know, the less support you have. So that's like focus number one. Then of course we had to start setting like some boundaries. So yeah, we hired a customer support manager. That's Jonathan. That's the third person in our team who helps us with managing customer support, answering everyone on time. But besides that, we built a help center from scratch and tried to document everything that someone asks. So we kind of tried to, you know, not answer any questions twice. So that has helped quite a lot. Then we also introduced actually a tally form, which is our ticketing system, but just to filter out the requests and to get a bit of a more, you know, structured tickets, because people would just email us, which was great. Like, we learned a lot by that. But then, you know, there's a lot of back and forward. You know, there's the form link is not in there, the account email, all of that. So all of that is structured now. So there's no emailing anymore. You kind of have to go through the form to contact us. So that has really, also helped in managing support in a better way. We also, and that was quite a difficult decision, we had to close our Slack channel for new users, because we kind of envisioned this as a community where people would help each other out. But in reality, it just became a live chat channel where we were like 24/7 just answering people's questions. And that was just, not sustainable. So we had to close the channel. We still have like 3,000 people in there, so it's a really valuable resource for us. But it turned more into a community now than into the live chat, which is of course a bit more valuable for us. So there's that. We also had to set some constraints, like we have features like custom CSS, where you can, take the customization of your form a bit further by writing, small snippets of code. But people would want to use it without having coding skills, and then they would ask us, and we would just, quickly write the code for them and share it. But of course, with 280,000 people, you cannot do that.
Yep.
So some things are just now outside of the scope of our support. And then lastly, we also launched an expert program. So we basically have people that are really good at building tally forms and that are certified by us. And if you need a really advanced flow, you can book them actually to build it for you. And I think all of those things combined kind of help us with managing support. And so Jonathan he works part-time, so he's not a full-time employee. And this works for now. We will be adding a second person. We'll also start experimenting a bit with AI and seeing how we can, give the right search results in the help center or in Slack a bit faster. But it's still manageable for now. But we did have to move away from, personal support, us being available all day to setting a bit more boundaries there. Yeah.
Yeah, and that makes sense. And so I guess the main tip and takeaway from that is to keep things very open at first, just get the user feedback, understand what people are saying, build things, communities, and, expert support for people as needed along the way. Obviously set boundaries to make sure that you can still offer the best support, as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely. And if we didn't keep it that open in the beginning, I don't think we would be where we are now, right? So I think it was really important that we did a lot of things that don't scale, and that's something I truly believe in. If we had all those automated systems in place from day one, then we wouldn't have, I think, we really needed that first batch of really passionate users to kickstart our growth. Yep. And I think a big part of that was just us being available and talking to users and learning from them. So I wouldn't do it differently, but of course I think 2 years in we kind of came to a standstill or like a moment where we almost couldn't work on the product because we were just doing support full time. And then we waited a bit too long to hire and to put the systems in place. But I guess, that's one of the things you have to go through and you learn from, for the next time. Absolutely.
And so moving on to your third best marketing tactic, you say is Twitter, but I think more specifically you say about building in public where you share your wins, your losses and everything in between. Can you tell us a little bit more about how that works for you?
Yeah, so when we started Tally, so we didn't have any network or personal network or no one to share it with. And then of course the user base started growing and people started following us. But us building in public has really helped to build this, I guess, personal audience for us as founders, and that's of course something that we've seen other startups do, and that I feel like works really well if you can be genuine in what you share. So I wouldn't say we're like the typical build in public type of founders that share everything that they do. There's people that are a lot better in that, but we kind of prefer to bundle everything we've learned into bigger milestones and blog posts around that. So we recently hit the 100k MRR, and I think the last time we shared something was 60k MRR. So what happened in between those two moments? And I think that's the most interesting part, because our blog really documents this from year 1, year 2, every milestone is in there. How did we find the first users? How did we scale customer support? How did we launch on Product Hunt? How does the whole product growth work? And I think that gives a lot of value, or that's at least the feedback that we get from people that follow us, because we just share the highs and lows in a pretty transparent way. And of course, you can also see it as a kind of a content marketing strategy, right? Like you share the milestones, people start following you. For us, it's mainly Twitter for now. Follow you, also discover the brand, and if they're interested in our content, then they're probably also in our target audience of startups, creators, freelancers that might want to try out Tally and might want to use the tool, and also just because they're interested by the story. So we definitely want to keep on doing that, and giving back a bit to we got started in the indie hackers community, found a lot of our first users there, and yeah, we're still pretty active in it, and it's just really nice to see how people support each other, share learnings, and especially when you're a small team, it can be nice to talk to other people that are doing the same, and that's kind of how we started building in public. But yeah, for us, definitely a really, I think, good way to grow our audience as well. Yeah.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I mean, me myself, I'm not the best at sharing online, and it's something that I want to try and improve on over this year, really. Is there any particular tips that you can give people about, if they, would like to build in public more, what is there any tips that you could give people to actually, help them do that?
I think one of the problems people have, and that I have as well, is that you always feel like, oh, is this worth sharing? This is probably not interesting to anyone else. But there's always a lot of people that are one step behind you. There's a lot of people that are one step ahead. But the people that maybe last year they just started, or yesterday they started, and maybe they need to, I don't know, buy a domain. They're looking for a good tool to host their website, or it can be anything. For those people, it might be really valuable. So actually sharing more than less, and not worrying about the relevance, I would say. But we're also not great at that. I think we're very strict on ourselves about what do we share and what don't we share. And that's kind of how we started just sharing these big milestones and putting a lot of time into writing out those. But actually, you could share something every day, right? You could share how what happened during COVID with the podcast, and how you found new people to interview, and it can be anything. There's one Kevon Chung, you might know him, who is building public expert. You can follow him on Twitter. He has also a lot of really good tips, but it's basically just not really worrying or polishing it too much, I would say, because the moment you use it to sell yourself, it's less authentic, and it won't be that interesting for people. But if you just genuinely share, oh wow, this just went really bad today, or I'm trying to change this. Does anyone have feedback? That's usually the content that attracts, or that is interesting to most people. But yeah, I would not call myself an expert at it. We kind of found our way to do it, but I think just not worry too much about the content, and doing it regularly is definitely a great place to get started.
Yeah, I agree. It's kind of just dive in and share the failures as much as the wins is kind of where people see the the real honesty in the thing. And for everyone listening, I would certainly recommend checking out Tally's blog, where they do document from 0 to 10, from 10 to I think you do 20 to 25, and then to 60, and then 100. They're really interesting reads where you explain the challenges at every stage of the journey. I'd just like to wrap this up. Every podcast episode, we have a last 3 questions, quick-fire questions. So if I can, I'd like to ask you, what's your best piece of marketing advice?
Good question. For me, I would say, to be authentic and to keep things simple. That's kind of what has worked for us. So we basically found this one thing that worked, you know, which was the product-led growth, and then just went all in on that and kept on repeating it. And I feel like if you can just, you know, deliver the best work and at something that you're great at, then the rest will follow. So I'm really really stand behind that. I don't think you need to like, what I hate is like these posts with, oh, these are the best 10 growth tactics for everyone, because, you know, it's different for everyone. Like, it depends on your resources, it depends on your product. So like, figure out what works for you and then just try to become the best at it before you go and invest in other channels. So that would kind of be my advice. And if you can create an authentic story around it, then I would definitely consider that as a big win as well.
That's great. And can you recommend a book to our listeners?
Yeah, I think, I mean, it's an old one, but the one I always recommend is Intercom on Marketing. So they actually have two. They have Intercom on starting up or so, and then Intercom on Marketing. And I know it's a well-known one, but it just describes in detail how they got started with just building a product, trying out different marketing tactics, keeping things simple, but just everything also started from the content with them. And I think it's a really actionable book as well, so I can highly recommend it to every, especially startup founder that, you know, is doing marketing as well.
And finally, what software tool could you not live without?
Yeah, I guess it would be Notion. We use Notion for a lot, you know, to run our business, to manage tasks, for documentation, also for private life. So, yeah, I think besides Tally, it would definitely be Notion.
Well, thank you very much, Marie. It's been a pleasure to speak to you today. And for everybody listening, check out Tally, check out their blog articles, like I said, and of course, check out the tool. We've used it, and we do use it, and it's fantastic. So thanks again for your time today. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.